Kirby will not be giving up his skinny jeans anytime soon.
No.
Kirby has fond memories of the 2008 financial crisis.
Fond memories.
Yeah,
Kirby's nightmare on Wall Street.
Hey, welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimists video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase. I almost forgot.
I almost forgot my name. And my name is David.
Yeah, hey, what's up? It's us again. Two things. One, just like for newer people, felt it might be a good time to just like reintroduce ourselves because there's like a number of newer folks that have dropped in. So for all you true podheads, this will be repeating information, but just wanted to say hi. So anyway, we're a podcast. If you haven't already tell, that would be
we are a podcast. You're probably listening to us on a podcast app. So if you didn't know already, this is what they call a podcast.
Yeah, if by some miracle somebody's just screaming a transcript of this podcast at you from the street,
not a podcast. Not a podcast. I don't think, that's a street performance.
I would like to go to that performance though. That would be kind of a strange avant-garde sort of thing that they're doing. But yeah, we take a sort of like optimistic take on video games. We're trying to find the fun in a lot of like okay games, which is something that we find a little more rare in games discussion. Certainly doesn't prohibit a game from criticism, and like, in fact, I feel like we would be kind of like, it would be a dereliction of duty for us to like just ignore criticism altogether.
We are not video game apologists.
No. When something trips and falls, we will definitely call that. But like, also maybe it feels good to jump in that game, and we want to talk about that too. Also, if any of you have been around for a little while, just wanted to reiterate something that we usually say at the end of the episode, but we're going to do it up front here. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, maybe toss us a review on your podcatcher of choice. It helps that algo get out to people who don't listen. So we don't usually do this at the top. I just figured there's a few new heads in the group, so wanted to say what's up and a little introduction, and then if you could if you want to help the show, that's a helpful thing to do, or show it to a friend or anything like that. I promise this part is usually comedy and not chilling.
And now back to the comedy.
I know. Sorry to big podcast on Maine, but here we are. I said two things. That was the first thing. The second thing, there is currently a book club in our house being hosted by my wife, and it's also a book club comprised of our friends who also have dogs. So there's a pretty high likelihood you're either going to hear people shrieking at the book or dogs shrieking at each other. So just a heads up that's not a dog you're hearing in the street. That's over here.
So is this a book club specifically for people with dogs?
It isn't intentionally that, but it is that.
It's just the people you've surrounded yourselves with.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Are these all pugs?
So a lot of them are pugs or Frenchies or Boston Terriers. Shouts out Seattle Heavy Breathers. What's up?
Is that what that club is called? The Heavy Breathers Club?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Hey, dude.
What's up?
Have you been playing video games?
I have been, Chase.
I would love to hear about them.
I am still playing Horizon back in the Forbidden West.
What, without like blowing it too much, how far into the game are you?
Still not that far.
Okay.
I'm taking my time with this one. I think this is going to be kind of like my in-between game, or like if I'm just trying to not necessarily think too hard or do too much game.
Yeah.
Because this game gets very close to being like too much.
Yes.
That maximalist style of game. So I'm trying hard to kind of ignore most of the side quests in this one and just going straight down the story beats.
Sure.
And just doing that. And I think I will personally have a better time with this game if I don't feel like I'm going in 1,000 different directions at any given time.
For sure. Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying the combat still. Aloy is still has, I think, like a hero complex in this one of some sort, a savior complex, at least so far in the game. It really is like just shunning help and friendship, which I think is kind of antithetical to our podcast in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I am curious to see how that will change. I hope it changes throughout this game. They don't just kind of make her this savior hero complex person, because that's not too interesting for me personally.
Yeah, I remember people interpreting that character move as like Aloy just being shitty. And I didn't interpret it that way.
No.
That like, I think the game is purposefully making her like more not standoffish, but like she seems to position herself kind of above it all, and like I think almost rightfully so. Like she has more like a wealth of information that the people living there don't about like the course of the world. But yeah, you're right, she does tend to like push people away in a lot of ways,
because I think there is a healthy way to have that understanding of the world and also still accepting help from people who are trying to help you in this quest that is difficult. And she's kind of turning people away at every turn, which is, to me, as the player right now, somewhat confusing, because it's like, okay, you know more about this world, yes, but that doesn't mean you have to do it all alone.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's my sticking point with it.
For sure. And to me, it felt intentional. Like,
yeah, I'd say it is.
Just like they were comfortable with Aloy being a little bit more mixed of a hero in this one, whereas the first one, she was very much like kind of a knight in shining armor coming to fix everybody's problems, which is like very video gamey.
Very true. And I think that also the voice acting is very good, but it also is like showing how this character is just kind of exasperated.
Yeah.
And just kind of feels like she is cleaning up this big mess and no one else is on her level, which they, truly are not.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how they have decided to take her character in this one. I'm curious to see how it evolves and expands, and I'm hoping it ends up somewhere that feels good. That's my hope, at least. But who knows? We'll see.
I would honestly be okay if they did the opposite of that too. Like I didn't beat it, so I don't know any more than you do, but like,
sure,
I would be okay if like Aloy took a genuine heel turn at some point. And like that
she's
would be
more like an anti-hero.
Yeah, like that's interesting to me too. Like the middle ground is a little bit less interesting, but like, yes, either I would like you to commit to her being like, I realize that I'm pushing people away and that's not something that I can do, or I'm going to figure this out all on my own. Fuck everybody else. And like what that does to somebody, Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see if maybe they touch on, her past as an outcast.
Yeah.
At all, and how that affects her relationships with people. I guess I'm just concerned about her relationships with folks who are like supposedly trying to be her friends. And she just shoves them away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where that goes. And also, I just want to say that I think it's really cool, the character Erend, because he's pretty much just Robert Baratheon in this world. Like, you are introduced to him in this game. He has a warhammer. He is just screaming at this metal creature and just smacks 3 of them through the skull with his hammer. And just is like, this is what I live for, the fight. I'm like, this guy is awesome. Ridiculous testosterone fueled, and just... I enjoy that kind of character who's just the likable warrior.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a fun game, still gorgeous. And I'm curious to see where it goes. I have also got back into Chicory.
Oh, yes, dude.
Yeah. Burger Boys. Here we go.
Boys.
Unite. Here we are.
Yeah.
The story is so good. I really love the interactivity of it, and a lot of the segments of it where it's like, oh, how are you feeling right now? What's your favorite color?
Yes, yeah.
How would you like me to draw you? Stuff like that. So it's just, it really does like a very small thing, but then customizes the experience in a way that makes it feel unique and to you, which is quite good. Like that picture that Chicory draws of your character.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Where she's like, how are you feeling right now? What's your favorite color? And it's just like this gorgeous thing afterwards. Yeah. And I just made like a couple of squiggles, and I felt pretty good about my Chicory drawing.
Sure.
So it's and I'm really starting to vibe with the gameplay. I'm starting to kind of grok more of what this game is trying to do. I'm like, okay, this is just a like a 2D Zelda type game, and I'm just like going through these dungeons and these areas and getting new powers at the end of each one to make the next place accessible.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to the swamp, I believe. Going to the swamp in Chicory and going to the swamp in real life. Here we go. So yeah, the swamp is next, and the story is taking a little bit more of a dark turn.
Yes, yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's much more intriguing and interesting to me now to see where this narrative goes. Yeah. And I also just want to say that the way that the game tailors it to you in just like such small, minute ways really reminds me of the opposite track, like what Peter Molyneux or BioWare were trying to do back in the day, where it's like everything is going to change from the smallest details, whereas this is going in the exact opposite direction of, we're going to ask you like 2 small questions and you answer them, and like one small thing is going to change in the game, but it just really makes it feel more personal when they do that. It's this interesting dichotomy between those 2 experiences that I thought it stuck out to me. in this playthrough recently.
Yeah.
Of how that can be that feeling that they were trying to get to by making these grandiose promises can be achieved with very small
tiny
things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, oh, you're doing too much, bud.
I also think that like there are so many moments where I bet the game isn't different for certain things that you do, but it like lets you play off of your own sort of like thoughts and insecurities about your own like art, that you almost don't need the game to respond in a very, very different way. I talk about that scene with like when you go to the art school or whatever and do your little drawing.
Yeah.
That one is amazing to me. Like, it really sticks out of how the game presents you with a bunch of characters. And the scene you're talking about too, where Chicory draws you.
Yeah.
And she immediately cuts the legs out from under her own drawing. She's like, oh, it's so shitty. And it's like amazing, right? For me, at least. Definitely the same thing I thought when I did mine, right? Of like, this looks terrible.
Yeah.
And the game, I don't think is really changing that much around you, but it allows your own sort of like brain to look at itself in those moments where it like cuts you off at the pass before you can get there and like second guess your own work.
It's impressive that they are able to, with this game, have a dialogue with your inner monologue.
Yes, yeah.
And your inner critic. So it's definitely whoever made this game has had difficulties with this inner critic themselves, and they know exactly what anyone else's inner critic is going to be saying at any given time, given certain circumstances. So it's very impressive from like a psychological standpoint as well that they are able to craft this game that way. Really impressive. Very fun game.
Yeah.
Really good. Also, I'm still playing PGA Tour 2K23.
Golf. It's golfing time, baby.
The golf ghoul is back, baby.
Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Matt. The ghoul is back. The ghoul is ghouling. The ghoul has some riz and some drip right now. I was pretty impressed by this. He looks like he's a 50-year-old man trying to like dress like Gen Z at the moment, which is pretty funny. But I'm somewhat obsessed with this game right now, which is very strange to me.
Yes.
It is hitting all of the marks of a good my career in a sports game.
Yeah.
There's no cutscenes, there's no voice acting. It is just, here's your character. Here's what you have to do to get to the top. And now go and do that and adjust the difficulty as you see fit, which is like maybe just like my generation of gamer likes that. You know, maybe the new generations really love the stories like in 2K23 and everything like that. They're not trying to make me a shill for a brand.
That's always a plus.
Always a plus. Man, that was a dark moment in games for me, truly. Like you can get sponsored by different brands in this game, but it like gives you perks with that brand, and like you'll get different apparel or clubs or stuff like that, and you're not having to memorize marketing lines for them.
Sure.
Oh man, just thinking back on that, it's like it's unearthing some strong emotions right now.
It was like a hyper capitalist thing in 2K whatever year that was. It was really weird.
That was really rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was NBA 2K something, and they made me memorize Beats by Dre marketing points to do a virtual interview.
So insane.
It was too much for me. But what I really love about this game is the putting. The putting is so intense. Going yard, really piping one, as they say in the game, tattooing a hit down the fairway. That's what they say. The commentators are also great in this game too. They're very British. They're very Podtimistic in a way. They don't say anything mean or negative, and they say it in a very like cheery tone, even if you are not doing too well. But if you hit a really good shot, they'll be like, "Oh, you really piped that one," or "Oh, that ball is absolutely tattooed." It's pretty great. I really like the commentary. But the putting is so much more nuanced in this one because you will really have to read the green, and the way that they tell you how the ball will slope and how the green is undulating is they have a grid, and then they have little dots that run in the direction of where that is sloping, of where it's sloping, and how fast the dot goes tells you how much of a slope it is. So a very fast dot will be a very intense slope. So sometimes you're like the hole is like right in front of you, but you're like way off to the left, just smacking it because you got to really take a little luge ride down to the hole. And then when you hit one from like 10 feet out and you just nail it, and the commentators are like, oh, that looks like a good line. It feels so good.
Yeah.
It feels so good. And then all the people golf clap for you.
Yeah.
And then equally, it's so disappointing and infuriating if you just miss it by just the smallest amount.
Yeah.
And same thing, the commentators will chime in and be like, oh, I thought that one was going in. And then all the people in the crowd will groan like, oh, just like they are putting your frustrations into words.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, I did not think I was going to enjoy this game so much.
Yeah.
But really having a blast with it because it's giving me the right amount of challenge and the right amount of immersion with the career mode and not just trying to make it into like, I don't know, some feel good Disney Channel like sports movie.
Sure.
That was a very pessimistic thing of me to say, but that's kind of what it feels like sometimes with these sports game stories nowadays. But yeah, having a good time with this game. Sorry, Matt. We're now done talking about the golf. And then the other game I want to talk about real fast is Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory.
Whoa.
Do you know this one, Chase?
Yeah, it's on some list of here's one of the games, but
this is the Kingdom Hearts rhythm game.
Yeah, doesn't it take place after the third one?
I believe so. And it's Kyrie just like retelling the whole story.
Oh my God, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, so jeez.
You are going through and then each level is like a world in Kingdom Hearts. So you're like in the gummy ship, you're going around, they have the little planet, all the same like UI and sounds and sound effects and everything.
Yeah.
And then, but instead of going in and like, going through a dungeon or whatever, you go in and you choose a song. There's like two or three songs per world, somewhere around there, or sometimes it's one as well. And you are going along a track, like a predetermined pathway. So you're not really controlling your characters at all, but it's you, Sora, Donald, and Goofy.
Yeah.
You can attack, right? So Donald and Goofy are the triggers. Sora is X. You can jump as Sora, so you can jump and glide as well. Sometimes you need to glide, and you can hit people in the air as well. But essentially, you are going along this path, and then Heartless will come out and try to attack you, and then you have to attack them to the beats of the song.
Yes. Okay.
This game can really kick your ass.
Okay.
If you're playing on proud mode, because each song, of course, has different levels of difficulty you can engage in. Proud mode will destroy you, dude. Proud mode is so hard because you are doing so many different things with the controller, actually.
Yeah.
You are independently attacking with Donald and Goofy. You are jumping as Sora. You are gliding as Sora. You can sometimes have to glide through the air and hit different notes as Sora.
Yeah.
You have to like hit certain enemies multiple times to defeat them. So like one hit will be Donald, another hit will be Goofy, another hit will be Sora, and then they're dead, right? Meanwhile, more Heartless are coming at you, and if you miss them, they do damage to you, and then of course you will die if you don't hit them all. Yeah. So yeah, this game was actually, I was really impressed actually by how well they crafted a rhythm game out of Kingdom Hearts. And also, a lot of the Kingdom Hearts songs are slappers.
Yeah,
like a lot of them are really good. So it's fun to go through and just play the game to the rhythm of the songs, as well as a well-known Kingdom Hearts head, I think both of us. Yeah. And of course, the intro song that they play is simple and clean, which is always just so good. So delightful. So delightful always. So it's just, more than anything, I'm just very impressed that they were able to do this and that I was having a lot of fun with it. And I kind of want to go through all the different levels at this point. Sure. Because each world is a different Disney song as well sometimes in the later levels. Yeah. So it's just fun. It's a silly game. It doesn't seem like it should work, but it does, which is also kind of like the Kingdom Hearts formula for success. True. Yeah. Right? We're going to defy your expectations. This is not going to sound like it's going to be good, but it's going to be well made. Yes. And there's going to be a lot of thought and care put into it. And here we are again. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. Yeah. We did it. That's cool. That's neat that they were able to do that. Yeah, I'm just just really impressed, honestly, that they're able to make something fun out of this. Yeah. Hell yeah. Gaming. Okay, Chase, what have you been playing this week? Hit me. Yeah. I got two for you. 2 games. Let's hear it. So the first one is, of course, Armored Core 6. Ooh. So for anybody who doesn't know what this game is, this is a FromSoft game. The people who make Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Sekiro and Elden Ring and Bloodborne and all those very good games. They used to make Armored Core, like
a lot of them. There was a period of time where they were dropping a lot of Armored Core games, which is a mech game. It's mech fighting. And I like wasn't horribly familiar with the series. Like I knew that it existed, but I had never really gotten into any of these games in any serious capacity. I think I had played Armored Core 3, maybe. Like just no real connection to the series at all. But I was so interested to see like what does a game in that like chronology look like after all of those other ones have come out, you know? Because I feel like for a long time Sekiro has been the kind of third person action fighting game, and that's it. True. You know? But they used to make a lot of different kinds of games, and so I was really excited to see like what does a mech game look like? Or if they choose to include any of the DNA from that at all. Like they could have just been like, no, it's a totally different thing and it's not going to feel like a Dark Souls game at all. And I think partially that is true, but there's definitely DNA in here that like, if you've played a Dark Souls game, you'll know when like the difficulty spikes hit. Like, okay, I see where the connection is here.
This is a get good moment.
Yes, there have been a couple. So like essentially the way that the game loop works is again a departure from the rest of the Souls games, because like I think so much of, or a cool part of what makes those Souls games really compelling, excluding Demon Souls, is that like there's this contiguous world that you can go from like one place to another, and it's all sort of connected in a very like physical way. You can run from one end of it to another. Whereas this game, while there are places that you return to, like the way that the game actually plays out is that you will take a mission, it'll drop you into some area, and then you just like have to like fight a bunch of other armored cores or something, and then it's like, all right, mission accomplished, and then you leave, right? It's not like you just hop into a mech and then like you're there forever. A lot of the loop is do the mission, come back, edit your armored core, figure out kind of how you want to do the next one, and then, you know, go out and do another mission. So it's a lot more bespoke. The rest of these FromSoft games are, but I also think that lends itself pretty well to the genre, because essentially the story that is going on is that you're playing as this, I think it's like kind of a rogue mercenary or something, and they are being guided by this handler who, like you said, is Endeavor from My Hero Academia, the English dub, which is very bizarre, but he's doing a great job, because like as your character doesn't speak, at least they haven't yet, so like it's kind of on your handler initially to convey a lot of the story that's happening, and initially you're not given very much, right? It's like your handler's like, all right, we're showing up to this planet, I think it's called Rubicon, and you're there to try and like take advantage of the discovery of element called coral, which it's hard to explain exactly what it's like, but like kind of like spice in Dune, where it is worth
drugs.
Yeah, kind of. It's closer to like oil or something, because it is worth a lot. It can unleash like energy for people if you use it correctly. But in the past, like it's already happened. There have been these like huge disasters as a result of coral, where like many planets were just like destroyed as a result of like the coral, I don't know, like lighting on fire. And I actually don't know what happened there, but there's a lot of references to that like thing happening. The Fires of Ibis is what that event is called.
Whoa. The Scarlet Ibis.
It feels like that FromSoft just can't help themselves sometimes from like talking about kindling and fire and ashes and stuff like that. Like it's in there a lot.
So you're telling me there's going to be some YouTube videos about how Armored Core is attached to connected to this Dark Souls universe.
Somebody will make the case. Somebody out there will do it. Anyway, so the story is like kind of straightforward at first, because you show up to this planet and your handler, Walker, I think, he's like, all right, so we're new here. We have to set up as a mercenary, but to do that, we need to go like steal somebody's old mercenary license. And so that's your first mission, is essentially just finding one that's valid. So you do that, and then the way that
starting off with some identity theft. Here we go.
Yes, exactly. But the way that the game plays out is that it is showing you these like different contracts that you're taking. There's not a ton, so you're kind of to progress the game, you have to take each one. But each of the people who are contracting you to do these jobs are like different corporations that are set up on this planet trying to control the coral. And oftentimes they are like at total opposite ends as far as like allegiances go with one another, right? Like this corporation says, fuck those other guys, we have to go in there and fight them. And so you get hired to do that. The very next mission is those other people that you just blew up hiring you back to be like, okay, we need to go fuck with this other corporation now. And so there's like this callousness with which the like business is being conducted that I think is really interesting and like really connects up to what the game is just like physically too. Because like the game, like I said, it's a mech game, right? And I think that the game is positioning itself so much to convey how cold and unforgiving these like weapons of war can be. They're like really terrifying, strong metal monsters that you're throwing at each other, you know?
Yeah.
And in this one, like it is unlike other mech games. Like you can get moving pretty fast. Like you are
love it.
Yeah, it's much closer to like the Zone of the Enders end of mechs compared to that, like on the other end, I guess, Mech Warrior, where you're just this like plodding truck with guns on it. Like this one, oftentimes you will just start a level, you'll immediately boost to get yourself kind of moving, and then you kind of just like skate around the level a lot of the times if you keep your boosters on enough. And so like you're moving with a deadly efficiency most of the time.
Yeah.
And so it's I mean, A, that's cool. That's cool as fuck.
Yes.
But B, I think it is conveying, like I said, the callousness of these machines. And then if you kind of look at it farther back, like the machine that is this world and how like these corporations are treating each other, because like they just don't care. They just don't give a shit about what the conditions are on the ground. And all the while you're getting these like missions where a lot of the time you're fighting the Rubicon Liberation Force, right? Like it doesn't give you any information about what that is, but just like suddenly you're fighting people who are like very anime in the way that they're doing their voiceover, which I kind of love. I wasn't expecting that at all, but like it sounds like a Gundam episode or something like that when you're fighting these people. Like, you know,
I can't die here.
that sort of shit, right?
Why am I crying?
Yeah.
What is this feeling?
That felt like Vegeta. I'm not sure if that was quite right. But
I did feel like Vegeta, but I'm okay with it. We'll allow Vegeta in this.
Thank you. But yeah, you're fighting this like liberation force. They don't really explain who that group is or like what they believe in, but clearly it's like liberation, right? From all these corporations. They're constantly talking shit on you as like a corpo dog getting hired to do these jobs and shit. And so there's
some Johnny Silverhand in there, huh?
A little bit, yeah, but I think a little bit more compelling just because it's not Johnny, which is helpful. So you carry out these missions and it's like kind of brutal. And I think the game initially is putting you in a position where it's asking you like, don't consider this. Don't really think about this. Where I'm at in the game, I think it is pushing towards a little bit of a different narrative, which I appreciate. I was really worried it was just going to be like, isn't war fucked? And like, war profiteering is bad, right? Which is true, but I was worried that was going to be it. There's clearly more stuff going on. Like you catch these conversations between your handler and like other people that he somehow knows. He has some kind of history with these, it's like human augments is what he calls you. He keeps referring to you as a fourth generation augment or something like that. It doesn't explain initially what exactly that means, but you're kind of getting fed these pieces of it. But I just think that's such a smart decision to, in a game where you are piloting a cold metal war machine, to also make the story about existing under a cold metal war machine that is like the system, right? I think that's really smart and really cool. And like, I get how that could be kind of like crushing if like they let you soak in that feeling really often. But I think because it's not really lingered on for that long, it's like, it's kind of easy to push away when you need to. Which I think is also like a good thing. I think that it is trying to let you do that and feel the effect of just being like a hired gun. And also like I said, the actual mech fighting owns. So like, it's pretty easy. It looks
really good.
It's really fun. Like I was mentioning before, it doesn't feel exactly like a Dark Souls game, especially initially. I will say that the game kind of takes a second to show its hand with like what it's doing and the mechanics that it's having you engage with, that it's like a little slow at first, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think especially like for me, I appreciated it because I never played an Armored Core game before. So like I just needed to learn how to move. That was an important thing in this game.
Yes.
Of like, how high can I boost? How quickly can I like jump at these people?
Yeah. How do I mech? Yeah. And of course it's a FromSoft game. So like the boost in any direction button is essentially your dodge. And you have to like really rely on that very often. Yeah.
The first boss is essentially this gigantic helicopter that you have to fight. And it is asking you like, okay, we're going to show you when it's shooting a big cannon at you. You should dodge then. And so it It definitely is challenging you in a similar way, but it takes a second to get there. But pretty much the moment that another mech shows up with like a big ass sword, and it is clearly showing you, I'm about to swing at you, and then you dodge like kind of under it. Like, okay, yes, no, I see that this is made by the same people.
You're like, all right, it's on now.
Yeah, no, we're in. And there is specifically it's like a boss towards the end of what is considered chapter 1 in this game that is like definitely a skill check.
Sure.
I had to really, really figure out like how to play this game to get past it. It's also when the story started being like a little bit more interesting to me, which is cool. I was happy that those two things kind of coincided. And I think that something that I wasn't expecting to enjoy, but I do enjoy, is that in games like Mech Warrior, it is saying like, hey, you can customize your mech, and that's a big part of this game. But I don't think I needed to go as in depth as Mech Warrior offers. Like Mech Warrior is offering like, what do you want your weight differential to be? How much steam do you want to put into your right arm or whatever, you know? Like,
sure. Yeah.
It goes really hard on that stuff. Whereas while there are complicated parts of this where like you have to consider weight and energy with your mech, for the most part, like you can kind of just swap parts and like, that makes it so much more simple to experiment, because it is not like a Dark Souls game where you have to invest like character stats and shit to be able to wield a weapon. You can just throw a cannon on your back and see if you like playing that way, which is really, really good, because there are a lot of different ways to approach combat in this game, where you can do like a very swift build that regenerates boost really quickly so you can move really fast. Or there's one I tried today where it's like a quadruped legs, so you kind of like walk like kind of a spider or something, but
like a tank.
It's a little tanky, but something that build offers is that you can hover really easily. So if you go up in the air, you can just kind of put your legs out and they keep you afloat.
That's cool.
Or there's like an actual tank leg where it's like a wheel under there.
And tracks.
Tracks. So you're much better at like going really quickly around the battlefield, like on the ground. And so it's offering you all these really interesting ways to play. And there's no real disadvantage to trying those. To the point where like if you die midway through a mission, they'll let you change it right there. Like it says like, all right, do you want to load the checkpoint or do you want to change your build right now? And so like
that's nice.
It is nice. And the thing that I was saying that I wasn't expecting to like is that with those harder bosses, it's so much fun to get your ass kicked and be like, okay, what do I need to change here to make this go better? And there's so many options available to you. So
it's one of my favorite parts about a Dark Souls game.
Yeah. Like how can the build change how hard this fight is?
Yeah.
And whereas like you would have to maybe do a different playthrough or like respec in Elden Ring, this one, it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to try like the slimmest build I can and have like just a beam sword and see if that'll work. Which I just think is so smart to allow people to experiment without having to like boot back into the menu and like do a whole thing and yada, yada, yada. It's just like, yeah, no, do it here. That's fine. So I think like that part of it is really, really good. I don't know. I wasn't expecting them to fumble the mechanics of it, but I'm glad that they still nailed it. It still feels really satisfying. It definitely feels like you're in a mech. Like there are parts of it that are very mech-like, but it also feels still like it is related to a Souls game, which is really cool.
It feels like that looking at the gameplay videos. And I'm happy to hear that is what it feels like as well when you are playing it.
Yeah. Like I said, it takes a second to get there, but like you feel it eventually once you're kind of dodging around and having to play really conservatively and, you know, rely on your patience more than your trigger finger. Like that stuff, it still feels very soulsy, which is great. I don't know if like I would go as far as to say this like stacks up against like Elden Ring or Bloodborne or something like that, but I'm still having a really good time with it. And I think I'm more interested in the thematic stuff that they're doing, because it is like, there is more of it than in a Dark Souls game, maybe closer to like a Sekiro, where there's definitely a story happening here.
Sure.
So
that's cool. That's interesting that there is more of a story in this game.
Yeah. And I think that it's definitely a FromSoft approach to it, where you're not being fed everything that's happening right in front of you. And like, you know, I wouldn't say that like the weapon descriptions are where you're getting the story here, but there is less of it for sure. And so you kind of have to like chew on what just happened and be like, I wonder what that means or anything like that, which is fun. I think that that's a cool approach to it. It is restrained in the way that most FromSoft stories are restrained. It's a cool game.
Interesting. So they're still giving you more story, but it's still like, it's just kind of on the periphery as well.
Yeah, because I think the game, and this is part of the theme, is just asking you to engage with the mechanics.
Yeah.
Is just saying like, that's what you should think about.
You're a mercenary, don't think, just do.
Yes, exactly. And so like when it does eventually make a shift to where it's talking a little bit more about story, there is like a clear shift in how the cutscenes are framed. Like there isn't really a cutscene up until that point. And yeah, I won't go into it too much because I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But like, I think towards the end of chapter 1, they do start making like, okay, here's what we're saying with the game, which is cool. It's really fun. I also love, like I said, the influence of anime on this game is apparent. Like you show up to one of the missions and there's like 2 other people that are like kind of bad guys that you're on the team with. And like, they're just so anime bad guys. Of like,
who's this green-nosed rookie? He's not gonna get as many kills as me.
Like that sort of stuff. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like I wasn't expecting that at all, but here it is. So yeah, that is where I'm at with Armored Core 6. I'm definitely going to keep playing it. I really want to see where it goes.
Awesome.
The other game that I've been playing this week is a game called Blasphemous 2, David.
Oh, I'm very curious to see what you think of this one.
Yeah. I don't remember if I've talked about Blasphemous 1 on the show at all. I think that may have been like just before we had started, I was playing that one.
I think I played it and you mentioned that you had played it in the past.
Yes.
But I think that's it.
I liked that game, but I found myself frustrated by it pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And not for reasons that I liked, like
sure.
I found myself frustrated by Sekiro pretty often, but I liked that frustration. It felt good. Whereas like I'll explain what the game is in a second, but just I felt like I was dying a lot and not for reasons that were really that fun, Yeah. It was like my platforming wasn't good enough or like.
So that's what I remember a lot from this game. It's like, I missed that jump. I guess I'm just lost
dead.
Everything.
Yes. Yeah. So for people who haven't played this game, it is a Metroidvania with like very much a Souls influence on it. It's made by this company called The Game Kitchen. And I think I wanted to like the first one more than I ended up liking it. But I think the reason that I was so compelled is that it establishes this, like, it is such a novel visual style, and like not the world that they present is so good.
Absolutely. I loved it.
It's so interesting and like scary and unsettling. If you haven't seen this, like it is essentially this visual style that's like influenced a lot by like kind of old school Roman Catholic imagery, with like, if you've ever seen any art out of like the hyper Christian parts of like Spain, that is very influenced by the like southern area of Spain that was like hyper Christian for a little while.
Yeah. And it's like Crusades-ish and what is it? Inquisition really is really what it's going for.
There's this area called Andalusia in Spain that like the creators talk about being very influenced by. And especially like if you've seen paintings from people like Giuseppe di Ribera and Francisco de Goya, definitely Goya is like something that you see in there, the Saturn eating his son or whatever. You've seen that painting. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Like that style, and I think specifically the sense of like dread and like religious guilt and grief and fear is like baked into the game in such a compelling way. I like didn't grow up with religion, but even still I was like, oh man, this is spooky.
Yeah.
It's also like grotesque in a way. Like there's, it doesn't really shy away from violence. And I wouldn't say it is horrifying, because a lot of the time the violence that you're seeing is in this kind of like 2D 32-bit style where like you see what it's trying to say with the visuals, but it's not like really reveling in that for too long. And even the cutscenes, when there's a bit of violence, I feel like usually it is purposeful in a way that like is reminiscent of those, like Goya, right? Like some of his paintings are grotesque, but it is intentional in a way to kind of like get an emotion out of you. And so I think Blasphemous was doing that really well in the first one, but I think the game didn't really line up with how much I liked the art style. But I'm happy to report that Blasphemous 2 does do that. I find myself a lot less frustrated while playing the game.
Great.
I like feel the beats and rhythms of a Metroidvania a lot more in this one. So like it's a hard thing to describe, but just like the distance between safe zones, how difficult any given enemy is, or like how comfortable you should get, or like the clip of how quickly you're getting things like a double jump or a dash or things like that. When you've played a shitload of the roguelikes, you kind of start to feel like whether or not this feels in line or out of line with those. And I'm not saying in or out is better, but I appreciate that this one is going a little bit more traditional with like, okay, that felt like an appropriate challenge between checkpoints, or that boss felt really hard for sure, but I was able to learn their patterns, or any of the platforming challenges rather than just a one-hit kill. If you just fall off a cliff, it'll just put you back at the top, having like,
oh, that's nice.
Yes, having gotten a little bit of your health knocked down, but like not just fully dead. And I think the game just in general prefers to add like spike pits below you, so like it's not just a dead drop, and like you definitely take damage from there. But I think overall the platforming is a lot more forgiving. I don't find myself being like, I had to make that jump like pixel perfect. There's a little bit more room to kind of fudge the numbers and be like, well, it's close on that one, right? I think that the art is still amazing. I'm not for sure about this because like it's kind of typical Souls fashion. I almost have no idea what's happening in the story. But so far as I can tell, I think it takes place like 1,000 years in the future after the first one.
Oh, wow.
The like end of the first one, I did watch a like YouTube explainer on this, is fascinating and tragic and kind of scary too, in that like you destroyed this thing called the Miracle, which is like in Blasphemous's world a stand-in for like this kind of holy force that happens where like influences the world and creates all these monsters and like compels people to like, you know, do the things that they do. The first miracle or whatever was this like, I can't remember if it's like a founder of the church or something, but he was like cursed to turn into a tree, right?
Yeah.
And so he's all like mangled and fucked up. Just amazing. Again,
and that's a miracle.
It's a miracle, right? Like there's some fun irony in that like the game is positioning itself with that the phrase "the miracle," but it's also like clearly horrifying, right? The land is terrible. The people are scared. Nobody seems to be doing very well at all. But in the first one, you like I think destroy the makers of the miracle, and in so doing, like your power to not die was a part of that miracle. And so when you destroy it, you also die as the penitent one, the one that you play as in the game.
It's a great name for a character.
Very good. Very fun. But you wake up essentially in, it's not clear to me if it's like a statue or it's actually the person who was holding you when you were dying. But you wake up and people are talking about the miracle again. It's like, all right, well, fuck, I guess I'm alive again. So yeah, I am enjoying all of those bits of the story. It is scary and spooky. And again, people are talking in riddles, so I can't really nail down exactly what's happening. But like, for some reason, the miracle is back and it is maybe giving birth to this like child in the sky. There's like
it's very Bloodborne.
Yes, very Bloodborne. One of the first scenes in the end of the last game was this like kind of see-through like womb, I guess, coming out of the sky with like this full man in it, like being, you know, gestated, I guess.
That's a full man in
That's
there.
a big ass man. It like wasn't a baby. It was like a guy, which is really fun. But I think that this game is concerned with what happens there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It feels like I can sort of like relax a little bit and just enjoy the game for what it's doing. Again, it's still really hard. Like this game, don't get me wrong, is still trying to employ the challenges of a Dark Souls game. But I think it gets closer on the difficulty to like Hollow Knight than it does Dark Souls, which is nice because like Hollow Knight is hard and there are parts of it that are challenging, but I rarely find myself just like stopped by that game. Other than like bosses, which again, I think are fun. There's
still check.
Yeah, there's a fun part to that. All in all, like if you compare these two like visually to each other, if you're just looking at them, it looks very similar to the first one. So like, yeah, it's not like they're groundbreaking and changing the game at this point. But I think that for my money, I'm enjoying this one a lot more. I'd be interested to hear from people who like really loved the first one, if that's still the case. But I think it is more in line with what I want from a Metroidvania than what I got in the first one.
Sure.
It's fun. I think this game is really cool.
Gotcha. I think that's what kind of what I wanted more from it in the first one, was a little less Dark Souls, a little bit more Metroidvania. Yeah. And it sounds like they kind of redistributed the proportions in this one to a good result. Yeah, for sure. I'm happy that they did that because like I said, I just was so enthralled with the art style and the story, and like, even though I wasn't, totally understanding what was happening all the time, some of those scenes are just like haunting in a way that is so cool. Like in the first game, whenever you rolled up after you beat a boss and there was just like this
you're in this like totally arid, blasted land, and you go talk to like one of these huge heads with their eyes closed, and they're like got these like dripping golden like liquid on them. Like it's so scary and amazing in a way that like I don't know a lot of other like imagery can, other than like these scary religious paintings.
Sure.
I think it's the same reason why Cthulian horror hits for me, where there is just this suggestion of something larger and more terrifying that like the people of this world are afraid of, you know? It just happens to be like, you know, God stuff in this one.
God stuff.
And I kind of appreciate, at least I haven't noticed if they've said it, but like I kind of appreciate it's not just like straight up Christianity. Like I think they use like Christian imagery, but nobody's saying like, I hope Jesus comes back soon. Like it's sort of something else, which I like that they've taken a swerve on it a little bit there.
That's good.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm really enjoying this. I think it is really hard to get a Metroidvania to feel really good, and I think that they've just got the feel of it down. It feels good to fight. It feels good to jump and move. And like anytime in these games when you get a dash or a double jump, I'm just like, yeah, dude, this is great. They also have 3 weapons in this one, which is really fun.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they'll play pretty differently. You get to choose one of them at the beginning of the game, and then eventually you just, you know, get them through the course of the game.
Cool.
But all of them feel pretty good. It's, you know, there's like a big flail, like a gigantic ball on a stick that has like a chain attached to it, which is very strong, but like very slow, as you'd imagine. Sort of like a curved blade, which is the one I picked. It's like sort of a middle ground, but it has a parry that I've found very useful.
Dexterity build.
Pretty much. Or it's like kind of a strength dex, like split between the two, but the other one is like essentially the needle from Hollow Knight, but except you have 2 of them. They're just like very fast weapons, and you do have a parry, but I think you have to unlock the counter for that one. Maybe you do for the other one too. I can't remember, but I found that the kind of balanced one suits me pretty well because I'm not as good at dodging as I am as just like hitting the block button at the right time to like get a parry in.
Sure.
Which is fun. I like that the game is offering you a couple of different ways to play. And even though you don't have them all immediately, like it is fun to kind of experiment and see which one works good and like what weapon works best against different bosses, because that's also a thing you have to contend with, but in a way that's fun. Like you just press L1, you switch to the next weapon. So it's not like you have to go commit to a build or anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's good. I'm having a good time with Blasphemous too. It's worth it. I think it's like $30 too, so like it's not the full price rigmarole, but it's fun.
Awesome.
Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week,
which is
the video game Rock Band. David.
Oh yeah, the Podtimistic thing of my heart, truly.
A couple of weeks ago, I went, one of our friends in Seattle was like, hey, I'm performing at a Rock Band concert, which was so intriguing just on the description alone. But essentially what that was a handful of like him and a handful of other people like set up Rock Band on a professional like stage in like a venue in Seattle, and they just played Rock Band, which is amazing.
I love it. Were they all an expert?
I think so. So far as I could tell, I wasn't checking the numbers, but the drums looked tough and the guitar looked tough. So I was like, yeah, all right, they're playing.
Real shit.
But that's a good idea. Like,
that's a great idea.
For people who are like karaoke curious, but maybe don't want to sing, like drums are cool. I'll play drums, you know?
I'll be in the back and just hit some things.
Yeah.
Get some plastic back here.
They're also smartly on no fail mode, so like you couldn't just like tank and have to do it again.
Yeah.
But really fun, really cool, and just reminded me how much like game is just so fucking fun. It's so good.
It really is just a special moment in gaming.
Yeah. It bums me out a little bit that like that isn't a thing anymore, but like I could probably figure out a way to play it. You know, like it's an option available to me, so it's not like it's dead and gone. But I think the moment has kind of passed a little bit, but I'm very happy for what it was for a minute there.
Really great.
Yeah.
Such a fun time. My God.
Played so much Rock Band at your house specifically.
I was the Rock Band guy.
Yeah.
I had it all. I had all the plastic instruments, and now Sam and his kids are playing them.
Oh, that's a good... I was going to ask if you still had yours around, but I think that's a good result for a child to have them.
Yeah, no, I had them for a while, and I think it was just this past winter when I was up in Sac. I was like, I visited Sam. Yeah. And we started talking about Rock Band. And I said, hey, do you want Rock Band to play with your children? Yeah. And he said, yes. And so I brought it over. Because he still rocks the Xbox 360.
Love that. Yeah.
It's real dad mode right there.
This is my dad's Xbox.
Pretty much.
Sick. Do you have something fueling your sense of podtimism, David?
Yes, Chase, and it is the fact that after 3 long years of suffering, after so many days, so many months, weeks, hours of my watch just keeping on going, never ending, that soon my watch will end, Chase, and I will get into the world of Baldur's Gate 3. I pre-ordered and bought like the special edition on PlayStation the other day because it had some cool like DLC stuff that you could have for your characters to make them look like some of the characters from Divinity.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, yes, please, I need to touch that. So yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the games like in my adult life that I've been the most excited for to play.
Yeah. It's hard to generate that amount of hype as a 32-year-old, but like, it does come around every now and then.
Every now and then it's here, and I'm enjoying it because this is a rare, fleeting emotion and feeling, and just all the reviews have been so good, and they're starting to patch things to make it run a little bit better. So we're ready to go on the PlayStation 5 day one. Oh, I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked.
By the time we next record, you will have started playing the game.
Most likely. I do leave for New Orleans on Friday.
Yeah, but like you'll come back then, and I'm sure the first thing you will do is start playing
That's
Baldur's
true.
Gate.
That Sunday, I will convince Mallory that we need to at least dip our toes in. This is for certain.
You at least got to get through the character creator, you know?
Yeah, and the next episode we'll have Baldur's Gate Unleashed.
Yeah, Gatefest 2023.
Gatefest. Make sure to pronounce it with a hard T, everybody. Gatefest.
It's Gateuh.
Gatefest. I'm excited for you to play it. It's a really amazing game.
Yeah, I'm beyond stoked. It's going to be great.
I'm trying not to overhype it for you, but like
the internet already done that.
Yeah, mamma mia, dude. This is like I don't know that I have had this strong of an experience in an RPG since like a BioWare game from back when they were like really hitting their strides, you know?
Like what, a Mass Effect or what, a Skyrim maybe?
Mass Effect 2, yeah. That sort of thing. Again, it's just such a unique experience for me because I don't have the same experience of CRPGs that I think other people do. And so like it is one part Mass Effect because all the characters are so compelling and I find so much depth in them and I am so interested in what's going on with them at any given moment.
Yeah. And
also it is so much fun to play the game and roll the dice, you know?
Gotta roll the dice, baby.
It's so much fun. I really like it. Well, before we implode, why don't we move on to our main thing, David?
Let's do it.
All right, cool.
Have a little fur baby. Call me fur daddy.
You felt that I was going to try and start the segment and you had to interrupt me with fur daddy.
You didn't expect that one, did you?
No, I didn't. Anyway, welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. We've got another user suggested game for this one. I'll say at the top, simple game, wild fucking story attached to this one.
Yeah, from the user, right?
Crazy,
from the listener, I should say. Yeah.
Yes, we got suggested to play Kirby Pinball Land from Rob K. Initially, Rob's suggestion had said Kirby Pinball Land for the Game Boy. My dad bought it for us kids because he loved pinball, and I recall it being both funny and wacky with Kirby stuff. That is short selling the wild shit that Rob had sent in about this video game to us, which we will get into in a moment. But before we do, can I hit you with some hot stats about Kirby Pinball Land, David?
Please.
Cool.
Hot stats.
So this game came out November 30th of 1993. So a minute ago. I forget how far back the Game Boy goes sometimes. Like it was, they really been cranking for a while.
It's an old system.
It is, yeah. I forget a lot of the time. This was made by HAL Laboratories. So if you played Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo 64 or Pokemon Snap or Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards, then you played one of their games. Also Melee. A lot of Kirby games. They're apparently very heavy.
Forgotten Land, Kirby?
Yes, yeah, they made the Forgotten Land. Very, very good game. Yeah, so they're Kirby people apparently. Oh my God, this review. Okay, so I have a review from Joe Video, an outlet out of France. Normally in this segment, I take their review and I run it through Google Translate a number of times from one language into another, eventually arriving back in English. I don't know what happened to this one. It was much longer than it is when it came out. And I really need to emphasize just how fucking short this review is. So let me read for you Joe Video's review of Kirby Pinball Land.
Let's hear it.
Kirby was born in 1992. And they gave that an 8.5 out of 10.
That was their whole review?
That's the whole thing. I don't know what happened, man. It is longer in French than that. I don't know how Google Translate mangled this one so badly that the entire review is Kirby was born in 1992.
Is that his canonical birth date?
I don't know. Millennial Kirby, apparently.
Yeah, 1992.
Kirby's
Checks
a millennial. Out. Yeah.
Checks out.
Kirby's a big fan of pumpkin spice lattes and posting on his Instagram with the like filter where it does the zoom in or zoom out and all that sort of shit.
Kirby definitely uses the crying laughing emoji.
Way too much.
Way too much.
Kirby,
even when he's not crying laughing.
Kirby oftentimes will send you a GIF as a response to something without really any context at all.
Mm-hmm. Still wears skinny jeans.
Yeah, Kirby will not be giving up his skinny jeans anytime soon.
No.
Kirby has fond memories of the 2008 financial crisis.
Fond memories?
Yeah,
Kirby's nightmare on Wall Street.
Kirby Jesus Christ. Kirby very much remembers where he was when Operation Desert Storm started happening and we invaded Iraq.
Oh, no. Yeah, definitely. Kirby definitely had to sell a bunch of magazines for his school to get little trinkets and candies and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
Kirby was forced to be a child laborer to get Big Magazine their profits that year.
Kirby has really fond memories of the Scholastic Book Fair.
Ooh, but who doesn't, though?
Yeah, that's true.
But also Kirby felt like he was promised a brighter financial future, only to be realizing that he was just a tool for the 1%.
Sure, yeah. Any Kirby born after 1993 can't cook. All they know is McDonald's, charge they phone, twerk, be bisexual, eat hot chip, and lie.
What is going on with this tweet? What?
It's just like a shitty copy pasta.
Oh.
It's stupid.
Just hot Cheetos disambiguated hot chip.
Hot chip, yeah.
Interesting.
Could you, David, tell me what Kirby Pinball Land is?
It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It is a Kirby-themed pinball game on the Game Boy. Mm-hmm. Differentiates itself a little bit by having bosses and by having like 3-tiered levels of pinball goodness.
Yeah.
And then also a nice little save that you can do at the bottom of the level. So if like there's a little platform, if you time it correctly, you can get back into the game and not lose a life.
Yeah, that's it.
That's pretty much it.
It's pinball, man.
Pinball. It's virtual pinball with Kirby. And Kirby is the ball.
He is the ball, which I think is genius.
Which is fun.
A genius decision to make Kirby the ball. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with what we like about this, or do you want to start with Rob's wild story?
Let's start with Rob's wild story. Let's set the stage.
Okay, amazing. Because Rob had the person who suggested this, which you can do at podtimism.com if you want to suggest a game. He had mentioned we had asked him like, hey, do you have anything you want to say? And he had said, and I'm quoting at this point, okay, so my recollection of how this game went down in my house growing up was that me, my brother Ray, and my dad Bob were in competition for high scores on it. Dad was a big bar gamer playing pinball, Space Invaders, Pong, and all sorts of stuff when he was out with his friends. It turns out that my recollection was absolutely wrong, as you can see in the third screenshot. Rob had sent us some screenshots. You can go to the Discord link on our website if you want to check these out. I loved playing the game, but it is clear that Dad and Ray were transcendent at it. From what Ray said, Dad got his high score at one point, which is still higher than all but one of the top scores we found online, and had it locked up for a while, but then Ray hit an unbelievable run and just casually doubled up Dad's score. And we haven't been able to find evidence online of a higher score. So Rob had attached a screenshot of like a picture of the game and like the high score, and it is 20 million, David.
That's insane.
It is insane. I played this game a lot yesterday. Like I put it on my RG351P and played Kirby Pinball, and it was incredible. I will say, a really fun game. But like on the best run I did, I got 500,000. I didn't even crack a mil. And my boy Ray just laid down 20 million.
That's insane.
It is humbling. I was like, dude, I am nowhere near this.
What's the top score, like, default on the game?
It's not super high because I cracked it for once I got 500,000.
Uh-huh.
It also like gives you a little cutscene when you get 500,000. Like Kirby comes out and is like, "Yay, you got 500,000! Congratulations!"
20 million. How long did that take? Were you playing the game for like an hour?
That's the thing is like I felt like I played for a long time when I got that score. It was probably 20 or 30 minutes of just straight pinball, and that was 500,000. Like. I will say I wasn't super optimized, right? I was definitely missing shots and stuff, but like the way that the game plays out is that like each pinball game has like a boss to it. I think you mentioned that. And if you beat that, you can go to another pinball's like level. If you get like one of the little stars, Kirby takes off. And while you're still in the game, goes back to the level select and you can choose the middle one or the right one or whatever. And then if you beat all those bosses, you eventually fight King DDD. So like, presumably that's the way to get the high score. But like, dude, you still have to be on some wild shit for it to go that way.
You have to be like purposefully staying on a level and just getting a bunch of points before moving on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I have to assume so. But you can loop back around. Like once you beat DDD, you go back to the worlds.
Going.
Yeah, you keep going.
Whoa, so it's like WarioWare.
It is kind of like WarioWare. Yeah,
you just keep going.
You're just hunting for the score at that point.
20 million. That's insane.
It's
transcendent is the correct way of describing that score.
Yeah, and like I had checked out online too because I was like, I wonder what, how much validity is there to this, and like. The highest like recorded scores that I can see are around 8 or 9 million. Rob had also included a screenshot of somebody from Reddit who was like, here's this cartridge I found in Japan with like somebody's high score of like 10 million or something like that. But still, like, it seems legit to me. So it is a shocking achievement that like maybe this was the best Kirby pinball player.
Is this some like gaming history that's been unearthed right now?
Yeah, I'm so curious. Like if there's a way to check to see like, is the game valid or something, because that would be so wild.
We got to get HAL Laboratories. We got to send in the cartridge to them and make sure that it's check it for its authenticity.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Masahiro Sakurai is going to come to your house and shake your hand.
Yeah. Put a mic, like a magnifying glass up to the game and be like, this is legit. This is it. So yeah, truly, truly wild story. Thanks for sending that in, Rob.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah. I was just shocked. I've been thinking about that all week. But also thanks for the suggestion, because this game, I sort of buried the lead a little bit, but I had a great time with this game. I think this is a really, really fun game.
I really found myself getting into this one. And I could see how you could play this just for hours on end, especially if you were doing the good old road trip with the fam.
Yes.
If you're just in the back seat, you got your special magnifying glass and light little dongle that comes off of the Game Boy. You're ready to go. You got a couple spare AA batteries. Kirby's a millennial. He knows.
He knows, yeah. He was born in 92. Like I said, I played this on the RG351P for anybody who doesn't know what the hell that is. That random string of letters and numbers. It's this little like handheld emulator device that is just incredible for the Game Boy era of games, because it is very small, super light. It is intentionally going after the kind of like design of what, a Game Boy would look like. And it's also backlit. So like any of these games from this era just look so good, because they are so supremely backlit. You usually can apply some kind of like a little bit of upscaling if that ends up looking good. But this one I didn't, and it still looked amazing. It's like in black and white, so there's that. But like I still think it looked really, really like clean and expressive. But yeah, just the perfect game for handheld. Like I can just sit there and play pinball for so long on this thing. Are you a pinball guy? I actually don't know if I know this.
I enjoy a good pinball. Yeah. I would not say I'm a pinball guy.
Yeah.
I would not define myself that way, but when there's a good pinball machine to be had, like at that little arcade by your house in Seattle, I will touch for sure, especially if it's like themed in a way that I enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think that there's like a lot to love there. I feel like I'm on the edge of like being somebody who says like, I like to play these games a lot. I like wouldn't go out and just like do it all the time, but like I always have a good time playing it. Jazz and I went to, my cousin Jazz and I went to Pinagogo a few years ago in Sacramento, which is like a big old pinball convention. I almost got in a fight with a man there. That was fun.
You did?
I did.
About what?
There's a very popular Batman pinball game. It's like styled like the older Batman series. And it's
this is already a good story.
It's so ridiculous. And like, it's like, I wouldn't say rare, but like whenever you see it in arcades, it's always like $1.50 to play. So it's like kind of expensive, but it's like really well made. It feels good.
Sure.
And so like we had found that, and Jets was like, hey, make it 2 players so you and I can switch off. There's also a line because everybody's there to play pinball, and it's free play, so you don't have to pay for it. But yeah, he's like, hey, hit 2 player. I'm like, all right. So I do that. I'm playing my game, and Jazz wanders off somewhere. I don't know where he goes. And I lose almost immediately. Like my dude is dead pretty quickly. And this like dude behind me is like,
are you fucking kidding me?
And I'm like, I'm looking around like, what, dude? Like I'm not a guy to start a fight. That is not who I am. And I was like, assuming he was talking to somebody else, but I looked behind me and he's like looking at me. I'm like, what? He's like, are you seriously playing 2 player and just playing it on your own? And I'm like, no. Oh, like my friend is here. My cousin's here. He was going to play, and he's like, that's bullshit. I'm like, dude, you don't believe me? Like, I was very offended that this guy was not buying the story that I was selling. And I was like, all right, well, I guess he's gone. So like, I'm just going to let his turn go, like just, not play it. And so I start like playing the game again, and I can just feel this guy's eyes on my back the whole time that's happening, because he's still just waiting in line to play the game. And I like just was like, all right, fuck it. I think I can't do this. So I just like let the game finish and turn around, and I'm like, all right, enjoy. And then he like, I wouldn't say shoulder checks me, but like there's a little bit of like a physical contact that like for a moment I was like, am I about to get in a fight at Pinagogo right now?
Over a Batman pinball game?
The stupidest shit. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to eat a hot dog instead. And then did that instead.
Smart move.
Yes. That was so stupid. That's the most ridiculous shit. I'm glad I didn't come to blows with a man over a pinball game.
God, some people.
I know. Like
taking 2 turns at the pinball machine.
It was like, I let the balls die. Like, what do you want from me, man?
Yeah, no, you paid for that.
I didn't. There was an entry fee, but like other than that, you
didn't pay for the pinball machine itself.
No.
You just like activated 2 player, and then Jazz wandered off somewhere.
Yeah, he just left to do something else.
Gotcha.
Silly times.
Where the real pinball heads come out.
Maybe if I had gotten into a physical altercation at the fairgrounds over a pinball machine, maybe that would constitute me as a pinball guy. Maybe that would have been the threshold.
Chase, we wouldn't be having this podcast right now. Chase would be touring the country, going to pinball tournaments and expositions. But
yeah, it would have been at the Dixon Fairgrounds outside of Sacramento, which nasty, dusty old place.
Fairgrounds.
That'd have been good. So anyway, point being, I do enjoy playing Kirby pinball because I have like sort of an existing appreciation for pinball in general. So it was fun to like experience this. And again, I think it's leveraging stuff that can only be done in a video game. Like the 3 tiers of pinball is obviously not a thing you can like easily do. Obviously pinball has like 2 layers typically of like a lower and an upper area where you can kind of change between the 2, but like there's physically more board above in Kirby. And so being able to like go from one area to another was like so much fun, and especially the little transitions that you're able to do there where like if you hit one thing enough times, it has like a little launcher that will like throw you up higher into the level.
Yeah.
That was all just like really fun. I really appreciate that like the top level was almost always one where you can like get a lot of points. And so you're almost always kind of aiming to be towards the top.
Got to get up there.
That's really cool. And like, I appreciate that all the challenges up there are like kind of specific and not like necessarily a pinball thing. The level that I really, really liked is the one with the chickens. It's like the 3rd level.
I did like the chickens.
It's really fun where like on the top area, there are 3 eggs that are up there and like a chicken going back and forth. And your job is to hatch the eggs by like running your ball over it a number of times until like a chick comes out. But all the while there's like some dudes that are like slowly walking towards the egg. And if they get there, they will crack it but if you hit them, they'll go back. And so it's this kind of game where you're trying to manage all of these dudes coming down to try and like crack the egg. And then if you do hatch all 3 of them, then they'll come out with like a couple of like items worth a bunch of points, and then like the star that will take you to the boss. Just like super fun stuff like that. I found it really engaging in a way that like definitely only a video game version of this game could be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It just felt really like smart and fun, and like they had considered what makes a fun pinball game.
Yeah, tiers, levels, interactivity, right? Those are the big things that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
A good sense of speed, especially when you got going up pretty quick. Really enjoyed that. And then just the bosses are a nice touch. Always fun to just whack something with some pinballs.
Yeah, there's one that was kind of like a brick breaker game where you have to like break a number of enemies out of like a couple of bricks that you just hit with Kirby and he will knock them away. It's very good. That's very fun. I also love the like launcher that you can get into at the bottom of the pinball machine where if you like really lose, then you come down on this like trampoline essentially where if you time it correctly, Kirby will go back up in. You won't lose a life. Yeah,
it's a little skill check to get back into the game and keep going.
It just makes it feel a little bit more, I don't know, interactive in a way, like in a way that normal pinball does not. Like sometimes you just fall in the hole and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Versus like there's just a little bit to be like, this is still definitely a video game where I have to press jump at the correct time.
Yeah, and I think it does go strangely a far way to make it feel like, okay, Kirby is the ball.
Yes, yeah.
Like he's out, but he's down, but he's not out, and he can jump back up and become the ball again to get back into this game.
Yes.
So that's fun. It's made it seem more like, okay, I am Kirby as opposed to this is a Kirby branded ball that you're using.
Yeah, no, definitely. It feels very much like Kirby Pinball Land as the title suggests, rather than just a Kirby themed pinball. Like this is a real place that he goes to.
Yeah, D2D is a mad scientist and has created a pinball torture chamber for Kirby, and he must escape.
Millennial Kirby shows up and is like, well, that just happened, while he looks into the camera and does a Jim face.
Chip face. I did a thing today.
I know.
Hello. Adulting is hard. He eats a piece of avocado toast and just keeps going.
And laments how he will never own a home. Yeah, it was fun as fuck. I like really appreciate the like literal game feel. Like they've got the paddles correct in this game. Whenever I was like, you can really get a sense for like how close you can cut it with the paddles a lot of the time, of like just hitting it with like the very edge of it. Sometimes just felt like, God, they really nailed this. It feels good to play the game.
Yeah, they have the paddle feel down pretty darn good.
I think in the same way that like Tetris feels like a perfect Game Boy game, so does this, where like there are 3 ways you can interact with this game. One is the right paddle, one is the left paddle, and one is bumping the like
shake the machine.
Yeah, shake the pinball machine a little bit, which I tried. I had no effect.
I had no idea what to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just makes the screen shake. That's it.
Yes, I don't know if there was actually anything going on there. I'm sure Ray will know.
I was about to say, Rob's brother is laughing at us right now.
You fools.
Like, amateurs.
Amateur hour over here, you noobs. But like because there is so little points of interaction, it feels perfect for like this, or like even the play date I bet would be a great spot for a pinball game or something. Like it's just so limited what you can interact with that like I think it feels perfect for this. Like this would not necessarily feel great on a PlayStation 5 controller, you know?
Sure. Yeah. No, I played this on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Felt weird because the right paddle was B. The left paddle was left on the directional pad.
Yes, which was also the case on the RG351P, but like that feels much more appropriate on a handheld device.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
Those 2 things are like right in line with one another, and there are just so few buttons that it's like, okay, sure, like yeah, whatever. And like one of them's on the left, one of them's on the right. That's fine.
Yeah. I was thinking like, okay, on the original Game Boy, this would make a lot of sense. But in this, it's like felt strange. Felt strange.
Yeah. It's like kind of, it's an interesting choice to do that. But I actually think it's pretty smart to like move those buttons far away from each other, to not have it just be A and B. Because like a amateur move in pinball is to smack both paddles at the same time, trying to like save the ball. You really just want to do one or the other. Because if you like tip it off one of them, if one of them is up, it'll fall into the hole versus like if it's down, it'll just kind of roll up it.
Is that what that guy who was standing behind you in line was telling you?
Yeah, he's just talking mad shit about how bad at pinball I was.
Well, you're double slapping it. I can't believe you, bro.
Dude, what a fucking noobs double slaps. This guy Millennial Kirby over here. What the shit is this?
Oh man, Millennial Kirby gets me. He's wearing his rim glasses without any lenses.
Jesus. Really into Mumford and Sons for a couple of years there.
Ooh, yeah. Big on the mumps.
Also, I'm so glad that they brought in like Kirby music. Some of those tracks, man, they just absolutely slap.
Kirby music is pretty amazing, I would say.
Yeah.
I think it is kind of an underappreciated game music in a way, because it is so kind of cheery pop, like pink sounding almost in a way,
yes,
which is interesting.
They have managed to make sound that sounds like a pink puff.
Yeah, it sounds like Kirby, but it's I love Kirby music. It's great.
Yes, the Poppy stage is the track that like for me was very recognizable. Mm-hmm. The so good, so good.
Yeah,
it is like temporarily sounds like Kirby is in trouble, but is so absolutely triumphant that he's going to win whatever this conflict that he is currently in is.
Yeah, he's a hero.
Yes.
Okay, he's gonna win.
Yeah, that like main like so good.
Yeah, they
so
do a good job
amazing.
of creating tension, but also never letting you doubt the fact that Kirby will, in the end, prevail.
And like that's a track that I literally listened to for like 30 minutes yesterday and at no point got sick of it, which is incredible. That is such a hard thing to do.
Impressively done.
So amazing. Yeah, so I'm just really glad that they kept some of the Kirby music in there. Mm-hmm. Anything else? I mean, it's a pinball game, so there's only so much I can really dig into.
It's true. Nothing else comes to mind. I think it was a very fun and interesting riff on a pinball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be. Why don't they make pinball games anymore?
I know.
That's my question.
It's really surprising. And like, I'm sure that there are games that exist, but like, yeah, I wish there were more of them. I think you could do something really interesting with this because like this is on a Game Boy, like, you know, with the wild sort of creativity that you see on like the Switch, why not try something really nuts?
You could definitely make like a roguelike pinball game.
I would be surprised if that doesn't already exist.
Rogue pinball. Also, you could do like a Roller Coaster Tycoon pinball game. Make your own pinball machine.
Oh, yeah, sure enough. I thought you were saying like you make...
Run a pinball, run Pin-A-Go-Go.
Stop fights at the Dixon Fairgrounds.
Just so you know, also, I looked at the Dixon Fairgrounds. The current show there is the Dixon Gun Show.
Of course, yeah, that makes total sense.
Tracks.
I'm going to be just trolling through the internet trying to find a pinball roguelike.
If it doesn't exist, Chase, I think you know what you have to do.
Yeah,
you gotta dust off your old textbooks and get game coding again.
Yeah, because there was that game Peglin that came out a little while ago, which was like a Peggle roguelike, which was really, really fun.
Peglin?
I think it's Peglin, like Goblin, but Peg. Yeah, Peglin. Peglin. Really fun game. Why not pinball?
Why not? Be good. It'd be good for you.
Yeah, it'd be good for me. Yeah, man, pinball. It's fun. There should be more pinball games.
They should do one on the Switch where you have to hold a Joy-Con in each hand and slap.
Oh, man.
To hit the paddles. That's all you do. You're just up there just slapping the air.
This is Wario's Slapland.
Yeah, Wario's. I'd play it.
I want to play a pinball.
My best Wario.
Not bad.
Thank you.
Not bad.
That.
I needed more pepperoni in the voice, though.
Huh.
All my ball fell down.
Oh, that's. I think that's what I was asking for.
Okay, thank you.
Like guttural, like you just ate a bite of pepperoni, not a slice, but like you have the whole log of pepperoni and you ate it.
The only thing I eat is cured meats.
Now you're getting somewhat close to Bane from Batman as well.
Huh, yeah,
that last one was a little Bane-ish. Tom Hardy is Wario.
I was born to the micro mini games. You merely adopted them.
Beautiful.
Anyway, Rob, thank you for the suggestion. It's a very fun game.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion and thank you for the story as well.
Yeah, shouts out Rob family for being maybe the best players at Kirby Pinball Land.
Hey everybody, if you want to interact with the pod and us a little bit more, you can go to podtimism.com. You can check out games that we have done in the past, episodes we have done in the past. You can suggest things for us to do on the website, which is always a fun thing to see what people want us to do. We still have to do a dance for whoever suggested that.
Yeah, it's hard to translate that one into an audio medium, but we do have to do that.
You'll just hear my big feet stomping, and you'll know that I'm dancing.
Mine too. We're both flat-footed fellas.
Exactly. When we went to the club and played DDR, people had to get out of the way. People ran out of the way.
When the DDR was rocking, people come a knocking because they knew we were on it with our big feet.
Absolutely.
I also updated the site to have links that are just like icons for the Discord and Twitter and email. So if you want to join the Discord, you can just go to podtimism.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can join the Worst Garbage Discord and find other cool podcasts like us.
Yeah.
And Into the Aether. So yeah, it's a fun place, fun people there. Go check it out. It's good for you.
You can also see pictures of Rob's maybe world record of this game and also Bruce the Cat.
Bruce the Cat.
Can't endorse that enough.
And the Golf Ghoul.
And the Golf Ghoul. Yeah, you posted the Golf Ghoul in there.
The Golf Ghoul. I think I scared everyone with the Golf Ghoul. They're like, oh, God, this ghoul's here right now.
Worked for me, man. I liked it.
Worked for you. Yeah. Good. And thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for the beautiful podcast art. Always our Scout Out of the Week. It's great. If you want to contact her for any commissions, you go to her little part of the internet at ko-fi.com/humblegoat. Yeah. Chase, I think, is checking to see if her commissions are open right now.
They're sold out. You got to come back later.
This is a hot, in-demand product.
It's true.
Okay? You gotta be ready to snap it up when you have the opportunity. And lastly, thank you, listener, for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. It's pretty amazing that people do this. They're on this crazy journey of this podcast with us. So yeah, thank you so much. We love it.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for all the newer folks who are checking it out, and for the people who have been around for a little while. So thanks to both of you. Very humbling and grateful for all y'all hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Chase, do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
Yeah, if you've got maybe a world record in a video game, check it out. It might actually be a world record. That might be a thing that you accidentally did in the 90s or the 2000s, depending if you're Kirby Millennial or not.
Call Guinness, see what they say.
See what's up. Hey, has anybody else kicked this much ass at Kirby Pinball Land? I've got the receipts.
It's impressive. It truly is an impressive score.
Well, that just happened. Does anybody want a pizza with me?
Adulting is hard.
Oh, man. Oh, God. That one does psychic damage to me now. That one's so challenging.
Meet my new doggo. Who rescued who?
Ay.
Live, laugh, love.
Please. It's brutal, man. It's tough because there's some of them that I'm like, wow, that's like, I feel very different, and like that one doesn't hurt as bad, but every now and then I catch a stray of just like, God, that is definitely a thing that hits a little closer to home. And like, I will make no apologies for loving the things that I love, but like just adopting the same persona that a lot of other people have. I'm like, you know what? I think I am going to take doggo out of my vernacular now.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
I think adulting is the one that like had to be axed immediately.
The adulting one is for me especially difficult.
Yeah,
it's just so infantilizing of yourself. Yeah.
Once that mirror got held up and I saw 32-year-old Kirby staring me back in the mirror, I was like, I don't think I can adult this anymore, guys.
Hairline receding. You see some crow's feet on the corner of your eyes.
Yeah,
is this what adulting is?
Kirby's poking at his hairline.
Do I need to start using finasteride?
Jesus. All right, we'll see you next week, Millennial Kirby's.
See ya.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage, online.